show is so live. I've been muted the whole time. And that means I'm the best host we've had. Oopsie daisy. Let's start over again. I am Hillary. I am your host of Community. And now you can all hear me. I am so sorry, but this is a live show. So this is how it works in the showbiz, baby. I am your host of Community by MODECANADAROCKS. This week we are talking about fluid futures, the ways we think about identity and expression. Apparently I was just way too excited because we have such a stellar lineup of amazing guests. We're joined by Ross Mayer, the creative director of Mayer, who has spent more than 3 decades building a reputation for bold sophistication, meticulous tailoring, and fashion that resists easy categorization. Through his label, Mayer, he blends classic silhouettes with sparkle, color, and theatrical flair, creating collections that move fluidly between masculine and feminine expression. His designs have gained international attention through collaborations with Ross Matthews, while remaining deeply rooted in Canadian craftsmanship and individuality. For Mayer, fashion is not about labels or limitations, but about giving people permission to be fully seen. Next up, we have Dr. Syrus Marcus Ware, a Toronto-based artist, activist, curator, and assistant professor at McMaster University, whose work explores Black activist culture, disability justice, and social change through drawing, installation, and performance. His work has been featured widely, including exhibitions with the Toronto Biennial of Art, Tangled Art and Disability, and the Grunt Gallery. Dr. Ware is also a co-founder of Black Lives Matter Canada and the Wild Seed Centre for Art and Activism. He has shaped some of Canada's most important queer and Black cultural spaces, including Blockorama at Pride Toronto. Across his artistic and community work, Dr. Ware creates spaces where visibility, resistance, and collective care can exist side by side. And last but most certainly not least, we are sitting with the icon Twysted Miyake-Mugler, who co-founded the Toronto Kiki Ballroom Alliance, also known as the TKBA, with legendary Mother Vixen 007. TKBA was created to support and empower racialized LGBTQIA plus youth in Toronto. Inspired by the legacy of New York's ballroom culture, TKBA brought the traditions of ballroom to Canada as a space for self-expression through dance, fashion, performance, and chosen family. Rooted in resistance and resilience, TKBA has become a cornerstone of Canada's ballroom scene, creating spaces for mentorship, creativity, and community care. Through balls, workshops, and advocacy programs, the organization addresses issues including homelessness, mental health, HIV/AIDS awareness, and systemic discrimination, while continuing to celebrate ballroom as both an art form and a tool for empowerment. Like I said, an amazing and stellar lineup. This conversation breaks down the power of politics of gender through fashion. And of course, we've been mentioning that we have a community giveaway, and I'm very excited. Let me give you the rules and the breakdown. If you leave a thoughtful question or a comment within the first half of the episode, so the first 15 minutes of this live episode, and you stay until the end because you have to be here at the end to get your prize, you'll be entered to win a $250 gift certificate to Mayer. I might be rocking some Mayer pieces right now, so I know where I would spend it if I could comment and win immediately. Like, I would like to have an assistant who can comment for me, but alas. We will choose the winner at the end of the episode and tell you how to contact us for your prize, so make sure you are commenting and staying until the end. How are all of you fabulous guests doing now that you can hear me?
Great.
Good.
Doing great.
Good. I want to ask the first question to Twysted, who I will acknowledge is not on camera because he's in the sky on the way to Costa Rica. So we've had the coolest guests who have made time to be part of our community, despite having other life events. So thank you for hopping on while on a plane. We really appreciate it. Start off by telling us a bit about how TKBA has grown over the years, but also the acceptance and existence of ballroom in Canada. And for anyone who doesn't know, I'd love it if you could share a bit about what ballroom culture is like.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. My name is Twysted, as she said. And as far as the growth of ballroom in Canada, it's actually been very interesting. We've had a couple of surges when population really went up because we started ballroom in Canada in 2008. Well, technically 2006 was when we first formed the House of Monroe. And it really was a group of friends that have a common interest in dance and voguing, and we were all like, just Black gay men. Um, and we were in the club space, and we were able to see people voguing at the end of the night. And we kind of, through research, and shout out to Seven, who was our mother at the time, found out there is a culture behind voguing. So it's not just a dance move or whatever, but it's actually a whole community of people. So we started doing some research and stuff like that. And then we brought it up to Canada, but it was not catching on because a lot of people did not come from the same type of, I guess, let's just call it struggles or upbringing that we had. So a lot of us as Black gay men, were in homophobic families or homophobic religions, transphobia, femphobia, however that looks. We definitely were living that. So, although we definitely knew who we were more engaging in dance through hip hop and all that stuff, right? So, our connection to ballroom is because it is the only place where we've been able to let it out, quote unquote. That's what we say, let it out, let it out, let it out. Um, and it just other people just did not have that same story. However, since the pandemic happened, it actually brought us together in another kind of way because everything kind of stopped and we were only able to do balls. I think we only had like one ball in 2020, one in 2021. I'm sorry, we started doing the outdoor stuff in 2021. And
Mhm.
because of this whole struggle of, oh my God, we want to be outside so bad, we want to be with community, we want to be around each other, blah, 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 like that feeling. People, when they got back, when ballroom was open again, the way that people held onto it is beyond anything that we've experienced before because it's almost like everybody was a part of building it. And that really speaks to the community side of things. Is like ballroom truly feels like community because you can be you can engage with ballroom in so many different types of ways and so many different kinds of levels, and you can choose to be on the outside. You don't have to be on the floor, right? But like I said, you don't understand a lot of these things until you are there to build it. So right now we have the biggest ballroom scene that we've ever had in Canada. Like we are at our biggest right now. We are in Toronto, Montreal, uh, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Regina, and Vancouver. This is coast to coast now, and that's because everybody truly has this ownness of the ballroom scene. Like we all really own it together, and that truly is the magic of how it's been able to expand the way that it's expanded, right throughout the country, and give us something that makes us relate to it in all the same kind of a way. So that's kind of why we've experienced so much growth. When we experience growth and what we've done with it, child, you can find us anywhere right now. Like I said, in any pride in the country, you're going to see some kind of ball happening, um, or some kind of performer, like a Vogue performance happening at anything queer in the city or in the country. And that's kind of the dream that we had when we started this. So we're living the dream now, honey. We're living the dream.
That's amazing. Huge congratulations on the growth and the success. I know I was first introduced to TKBA when you were a part of the first in 2023 the MODECANADAROCKS event that I went to, and watching people do
Oh,
ballroom in
wasn't
these
that so hot? It was so hot. That
right?
was so hot. That was so
It
hot.
was phenomenal. So seeing people do ballroom in such amazing outfits, I think really it brought a new level of entertainment and excitement to the fashion show space. And I feel like you are getting more of that now, seeing ball and kikiing and voguing as part of fashion, because as I think is a big part of this episode, they are so interconnected, like fashion, the queer culture, community, dancing, all of these things come together to really represent so many groups of people. So it was an amazing way to get introduced to your work, Twysted. And again, thank you for chatting with us while on a flight. We really appreciate it. Um,
Of
Ross,
course, anything to represent my community, for real.
thank you. Ross, you have dressed men and women, including prolific people like RuPaul's Drag Race judge Ross Matthews, which we've discussed, as well as recently Alan Cummings from Traders. I'm curious if you could give us some insight into what drives you to mix some of the men's tailoring with these more fluid shapes, unusual fabrics, the silk, the lace, the caftans that I feel like you're so well known for in this space.
Hillary, thanks so much first for having me on here. I think this is just a wonderful forum of speakers, and it's just a topic that I think just needs so much more exposure. Truly, truly. You know what? My process always begins with tailoring and structure. You know, I am a tailor and a dressmaker at heart, literally. So creating structure and confidence and presence is really what I'm all about with Meyer. And I don't know, I'm always interested in involving this design language through, I don't know, breaking down gender norms. Men's fashion traditionally, I don't know, just it feels like it lives within a box and there are boundaries that men kind of feel they need to adhere to. And I'm really looking to explore this through, I don't know, for me, the modern use of fabrication, taking softness and injecting it into menswear, whether that be through the use of silk or satin that creates fluidity and ease, or perhaps it's maybe lace or chiffon that has a bit of mystery and dark edge. Or maybe even what I'm really probably best known for is sequins and shine, which I think are just celebratory, and they create confidence and, you know, just instill celebration. So I don't know. I think I'm so pleased today that men are really willing to express themselves and explore their own individuality. And I don't know. I think for me, I don't know, my biggest joy out of everything I do is just being able to give people permission to explore and express their authentic selves.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what's amazing is in all of those things that you described, it really can be for anybody and everybody.
Exactly.
Like I know more recently now we've got the women's, but there was always a small enough size that I could have worn some of those pants. There was always something for everybody, right? That is, I think, a bit of your ethos.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what? When I set out to create this brand, I literally wanted to create fashion for people. And there was never any I don't know, mandate for me to put labels or genders on clothing, but just simply create beautiful clothing that could be appreciated by literally anybody.
Amazing. We love that. We love that. Now, Dr. Syrus, you are an artist at heart, and I'd like you to tell us a bit about how you self-express through the medium that you choose, and do share with us some of the projects that you're currently working on.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I'm an interdisciplinary artist. And so as such, I get to work in any medium that I want to. I get to come to my questions and my curiosities as an artist. And I get to say, am I going to make this into I've been drawing portraits of activists, really large, 12 feet tall by 5 or 6 feet wide, in graphite, these huge portraits honoring artists. But I also work in textile work. I make banners and, do film projects and theater and performance. And so really being able to work in a lot of different ways is amazing. I'm an assistant professor in an interdisciplinary art program at McMaster University. And I get to teach students, hey, what if you take this approach and apply it in a new way? What if you try a medium that you've never tried working in before and just get to express and experiment? One of the things that I love to get to do is to talk about all of the amazing creative art making that's happening in the country. So I just put out a new book. It's called Free to Be More, looking at creative activisms in the era of Black Lives Matter, and thinking about all of the amazing artists who are making art and activism go together in interesting ways. And so this book just came out, and it's full of art and stories and interviews with artists from across the country. So that's been really exciting. And then right now I'm working on a new, actually a textile project. It's called Mad Safety Clothes. And I'm working with artist Miriam De Los Santos out of Winnipeg, who's a fashion designer out of Hello Darling. This is an outfit that she designed. And together we're going to be co-creating a line of clothing that intersects with what I'm really interested in, which is abolition, disability justice, and fashion. And so we're making a line of clothing for people who have been labeled with mental health diagnoses that is for us, by us, that it will keep us safe out in public, in part because we know that there's targeted policing and that a lot of mad folks, get affected by targeted policing. There's going to be some protective mechanisms. We're working with Kevlar. We're working with bulletproof material. I'm really excited about this project.
Wow, those are two like such like so amazing like the projects are so good I've lost grammar. That's phenomenal. Definitely keep us in the loop about the textile project, because I would love to be able to learn more and share. And I'm curious a little bit about the book. I'm sure that every artist and story in there is like a baby to you, but is there any little tidbit that you want to highlight, or anything that you thought was just so interesting that you really wanted to be part of the book that can serve as a teaser?
I will say there's interviews with Rodney DeVerlis and Keisha Williams, two Black artists who have made really interesting work about some nascent projects that I would definitely say to check out. But also, the world is in love with Sandra Brewster. She's a Black artist, brilliant artist who hasn't gotten her due in Canada, and now is a Sandra Brewster moment. And there's a beautiful article in here, chapter looking at her work in particular, this Blur series that she's been working on, and it's not to be missed.
Amazing. Well, everybody heard it here first. We have to go and check out not only the book, but then all of these artists after. So the book serves as homework. Continue on and find all of these amazing people and support them. That's so exciting. Congratulations. Ross, I wanted to ask you, we're seeing more and more, and I think this speaks a little bit to, like I was saying about your ethos. We're seeing more and more people and celebrities in shows open more space for dialogue around queerness, culture, and community in the way that they're dressing. I maybe thought that some of the cast of Heated Rivalry had worn some of your pieces, and I don't think they have yet, but they should. But even the way that these, I believe, cisgender men are dressing in fluid ways is giving more people the confidence to dress how they want and how they should. How do you think fashion, and specifically your brand, plays into that bigger conversation?
You know what, Hillary, I think fashion is just so much bigger than just clothing, the concept of clothing. Fashion is a form of communication. I think we can all agree. People, I would say, unfortunately, that pass judgment, through just visual contact within seconds. They're making assumptions, on who they might think you would be, who you are, how you express yourself, your level of confidence, etc. And I think that shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, Heated Rivalry, et cetera, I think they basically kind of set the stage for discussions to start happening, and for for people to be able to look at things through a little bit of a different lens, to things to become part of conversation and popular culture. And I think this is great what we're seeing. I mean, I've been with RuPaul's Drag Race for I don't know how many, 6 years, I believe collaborations have been ongoing. And I'm just honestly so amazed and just grateful on how big that show became, and how just literally main stage it has become for the world. And I think that has changed a lot of people's opinions and opened a lot of people's eyes to the LGBT plus community. I think it's great. So I don't know, I think within my brand we're always just interested in breaking down limitations and just reinforcing self-expression, and that is my challenge. That's my life's work. What I'm really here to do is giving people to take ownership and have permission to express themselves fully and completely out there in the world.
100%. I think that aligns so much with what Dr. Syrus was saying as well in terms of this textile project. It's about owning your confidence, feeling safe in all of these spaces, and looking good in all of these spaces while you're doing it. I will also say, I've done some recent research on Heated Rivalry, and I did not realize that Shane and Ilya were based off of Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin. And now I would like to see both of those men in chiffon, silks, caftans. If we could get Sidney Crosby in Nova Scotia in a caftan on Cole Harbor, I think that we would have, like a better country overall. But that's a personal take. But new petition to get them in some mayor as well. Just Sidney Crosby in some mayor. Syrus, I'll ping it back to you. Black Lives Matter Canada started in 2014, and obviously that is well before the Black Lives Matter movement that we all went through during the pandemic, which took it to another level. I'm curious what your take is on where the BLM movement is today, and how you weave the narratives of Black Lives Matter and inclusivity for all when championing specific groups, communities, and Canadians as a whole today.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw such incredible organizing and activism. The Black Lives Matter movement, Black Lives Matter Toronto starting in 2014 and Black Lives Matter Canada in 2018, it grew out of already, there was an incredible hotbed of Black organizing and activism in this country and in this place. And so there, it's sort of building on that. And what we saw with the real uprisings of 2016 and then absolutely with the uprisings of 2020, that summer of 2020 where we saw people literally pouring into the streets, even though there was a pandemic, because we knew that life was on the lines and that people needed to survive this summer. We saw such incredible organizing and activism. What we've witnessed now, of course, is, the stakes are as high as they ever were. We've seen a real pendulum swing and a backlash against Black liberation. We've seen things, overt examples like the white supremacy that we're seeing sort of writ large across our screens and in the news every night, both, yes, south of the Medicine Line, but even here in Canada as well. Book bans and things like that are focusing on Black subject matter. We're seeing Black exhibitions decanted from the American Museum of Natural. We're just seeing lots of examples where Black stories are being taken out, and Black jobs. People who had gotten these coveted sort of cohort hires during a time to try to address systemic inequities in hiring. A lot of those haven't panned out to be really giving people the job security that we were hoping. So and then we have these new realities that are facing us. Black children going missing. There's an epidemic right now of Black children going missing, and they're turning up in these disparate places across the country. And it's a real emergent crisis. So the conditions facing Black life are more precarious than ever. And what we need now is we need to make sure that all of us are fighting to make sure that Black life is inherently valuable, that we get to survive into the future. And we know that if we make the world safer for Black communities, we are necessarily making the world safer for everyone, for the land, for the planets, for queer and trans people, for disabled, deaf and mad people, for migrant folks. Everyone's life will be made better if we make the world safer for those who are most marginalized. We learned that from the Combahee River Collective in the 1970s, and it's still true today.
100%. I think part of the reason I really want to ask that question is I still meet frustrating narratives around, Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, and knowing that, several of us are multiple intersectionalities on this episode. It's never a one versus all scenario. It's really bringing the collective together. And if you make a space safe for one group, you tend to make it safe for so many other groups at the same time. And so the Black Lives Matter movement champions queer people, it champions fluidity, it champions all of these things. We could not have Pride without Marsha P. Johnson, a Black person. And so there's so many of these things are so interwoven together. So I just felt that it's important to ask the question about where Black Lives Matter is now, because I think it informs in a way what's going on in terms of the backlash with queer communities in the United States and in Canada, and different bills that are being pushed back as well. So it's all one bigger narrative in my mind. So thank you so much for your impeccable insight. Twysted, I am curious what you think the biggest misconception is within the queer community, and how is Ballroom addressing or changing some of those misconceptions? You are on mute.
Sorry, I might have missed something. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll ask the question again. I'm curious what you think the biggest misconception is, I guess more about the queer community, and how is Ballroom addressing or even changing some of these misconceptions? Twysted, you're on mute again. Let's see. Oh, I believe Twysted might be gone. Again, this is a live show, so this is some of the things that you deal with. It's okay. I will jump to our.
Today's a big city.
Wait, hold on.
Sorry, I'm just not able to hear anything anymore. That's what I think.
Twysted, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. I can hear you now. Yes.
There we go. Perfect. I will ask again.
Sorry about that. Oh my God.
No, don't worry. Listen, you're booked and busy, honey. We're happy that you're in Costa Rica. Don't worry about us.
Thank you for being understanding.
For no worries, we can hear
Wendell
you.
and his husband for a long time. Okay. What was the question?
Let me see. I'm going to try to ask. What do you think the biggest misconception is within the queer community, Twysted? How do you think Ballroom is addressing or changing some of those misconceptions?
Believe it or not, I actually think that the biggest misconception is that things are getting better, and that people are living, we're just living out the dreams of the slaves and stuff like that. Like it's absolutely not. There's still homophobia in rampant amounts. There's still transphobia in rampant amounts. There's still racism in rampant amounts, even in Toronto, even in Canada. And we definitely are. Yeah, we use ballroom. I don't want to say youth ballroom, but like I consider ballroom to be like in a dream world, what would the world look like, right? And you know how ballroom is so diverse, so many different genders, so much acceptance. Quite frankly, it really is the acceptance. I just do not see that in the reality of the world yet. So quite frankly, the escape of ballroom is still so it's still so important and necessary because the reasons why ballroom existed in the beginning 50 years ago is still the reason why ballroom is still spreading today into new places, into new territories. If the world was all it needed to be, we wouldn't need ballroom. If queer people were able to get the fair chances that we deserve based on talent, based on output, then we would not need to have our own world to be and our own places to do so. So it's just, yeah, it's like a little reminder. We don't try to dwell in that, but we definitely are very aware that when we do go out into new places and stuff like that, that it's very important that people understand the why, and not just see what we're doing, the fabulousness of what's going on. No, this fabulousness, let's consider it like a diamond that came out of pressure, like came out of, like that is what ballroom is. Yes, you might see the diamond, but it didn't start as a diamond. And in fact, it's because of all the pressure that we're facing. And certainly not we, but even the forefathers, the ancestors that created ballroom. If they didn't go through those things, then we wouldn't have ballroom. So it's unfortunate, but it's reality, and we live in a real world, and we have to adapt.
100%. Thank you. That was a very honest and candid answer. And actually, as I ask all three of you our final question, Twysted, I'll ask you first. When you think of queerness, fluidity, equality, equality, inclusivity, what do you hope for Canada and for our collective fluid future?
What I really wish is that it would go against the political correctness that Canada stands for and represents, right? And that it would truly be honest. That's all I want. Like, I would personally rather stay in a homophobic, transphobic, racist state than to be in a pretentious state where we think that everything is going well, but then we're not actually able to access stuff. We're not able to, make certain strides because the reality is that those things in play. Glad I see what's going on. I'd rather even have to change place of stand for into I'm like I think I even want to make it a little actually had to and we
Twysted. I'm just wondering if you can hear me. Wherever you are, it just sort of started glitching. If you want to say that last sentence again.
Sorry about that, because my headphones did something stupid. I would even backpedal and say that I don't even. Let me just leave it there. I don't know if you were able to hear me right now, but I would just rather it be honest, sincere. But I was gonna say that I would even want them to fake it till they make it, because we've had to fake it till we make it as queer people. We've had to be on our piece and like them. So I'm in the middle. I'm so on the fence the more I think about it. I do not want them to fake it, but at the same time I want them to have, I guess, some professional courtesy and professional respect and common courtesy, that human dignity that anybody deserves. But don't go as far out and, start to lie about your feelings and your positions on certain things just to appease the masses. That's it.
100%. I think what looks like a safe space is a space that is honest. And some of the things that I've highlighted in my Black activist work is I would rather know that someone feels a certain way about me from the jump instead of pretending to be nice, pretending to give me opportunities, pretending we're going to collaborate if it's actually a hostile situation. And so I do think that honesty is the most important to our future, because I understand, I think, what you're saying in terms of we want to live in a country that doesn't pretend to be super inclusive while maybe minimizing our rights or not having funding opportunities or giving us the runaround. It would be easier if everyone was honest, so it was a level playing field, but we want that inclusivity. I think that that's the most important part. We want to grow together, and we want this to be a safe space.
Correct. You said it perfectly. Thank you.
No worries. I was trying to infer. I appreciated the tech difficulty, but we got there in the end. Ross, I'll ask you next what you hope for Canada and its fluid future.
You know what? I think I probably echo a lot of the same sentiments that Twysted put forth. I think it just really, like, politics, policies, and perceptions aside, I just really hope that, I don't know, people are free to express themselves at the end of the day. We have a very diverse, structure here in Canada, but there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of work through things like this and knowledge, and just I don't know, we got to bring messaging to the people, and that's never going to end, and it's always going to be an uphill battle for sure. But I think major inroads have been made, obviously. I don't know, my job here is to provide options for people, to be able to express themselves, to be able to open conversations up, to be able to bend gender norms, and that's my hope for the future.
No, I completely agree. Thank you so much, Ross. And last but not least, Dr. Syrus, can you tell us what you hope for Canada and its fluid future?
We're living as if we're already there. We're already moving towards the future right now. Every decision that you make, your choices, the way that we're coming together in community, the way that we're celebrating together, the way that we're honoring each other, we're already starting to live in the future that we're dreaming of. We can start how do you get there? You get there by just doing one foot in front of the other right now, living as if we are already there. I'm imagining a future where we all get to make it, where Black people survive and are thriving. I want to imagine a future where all trans people get to live long enough to become elders, where all trans kids can use any bathroom, play any sports, read any book, and be free to be around. The disabled, deaf, and mad people have what they need to thrive. Where we've gotten rid of this fictitious idea of borders, and where we're able to kind of move freely the way that the bugs and the bees and the plants and the animals do across this beautiful planet that we live in. And we'll have created a planet where the waters run clean and where the air is fresh. And I want to say we absolutely can do all of this. Think about how much has changed in the last 100 years, the last 50 years. So much transformational change can happen from human beings working together. We absolutely have everything we need in order to build what I will call an idyllic utopian future. We can build that. It is not a bad word to dream for utopia. We can build a future where we all get to make it. And we can do that by living as if we're already there right now and working together to get to the future that we're dreaming of. I encourage everybody to imagine their ideal Saturday and start to plan how we're going to get there. We can do this together.
Dr. Syrus for mayor, as not only the brand mayor, but also for the mayor of Toronto. That was so inspirational and a perfect way to end this episode. I think that as a generation that has the most knowledge at our fingertips, the most technology available, with every feeling we might have about AI, we could make a utopia if we really tried and we really wanted to. We just have to put that energy out there. So what a great way to end this inspirational episode. But we're not exactly running away just yet, because we have a winner. We have someone who has won our contest, which means they get $250 to a mayor. You do, I assume, the physical store in Yorkville if you want to pop by, or online, of course. And our winner is Claire at Arctic Diva. Thank you so much for engaging in the chat and for staying until the very end. Please reach out to us and direct message us on Instagram so we can tell you how to collect your $250 to mayor. As you know, pretty snazzy. I definitely wish I could have won, so I'm glad somebody did. That's so exciting. I want to thank you all, Syrus, Twysted, and Ross, for your time today. This was such a wonderful and inspirational episode. Join us next week on June 3rd on YouTube or on Instagram, where we have another episode, Sound as Style. We are so excited to have another episode next week. Congrats again to our winner, and we'll see you next time.